Solomon is here. I can't find my pen. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to tonight's workshop/council meeting. Let the record show that all council members are present except Councilwoman Cobb and Councilman Adams. We will now have our invocation by Mr. Bear Jones. Mr. Jones, would you like to do the invocation tonight? And we will have the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Councilmember Alvarez. Please stand.
Giving honor to God, thank you for allowing us to be here one more time to ensure that we do the right thing for our citizens of Killeen and citizens of Texas. Because without us having the will and knowledge from you, sir, we will not be able to do what we're supposed to do for people. Thank you. Please protect all the citizens in Killeen, Texas. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Bear Jones and Councilmember Alvarez. Can I please get a motion to approve the agenda? Just Councilmember Boyd,
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Councilmember Solomon.
Second.
All in favor, yes. All opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0. Council members, you have, during our work session, you have 3 minutes to speak, 3 times each. We will start off with our citizen comments. Our citizen comments will be items that are on the agenda. Council, did I miss something? The work session? Oh, I apologize. No work session, no citizen comments yet. Sorry about that. So we're going to discuss the agenda items 1 through 11 for the August 6, 2024 work section. Madam Secretary.
LMN 24018, consider minutes of regular city council meeting of July 9th, 2024. LMN 24019, consider minutes of regular city council meeting of July 16th, 2024. RS 24129, consider a memorandum resolution declaring a vacancy on the Senior Citizen Advisory Board and appointing a member to fill the unexpired term.
Thank you. Council, Mr. Provost discussed this last week. Would you like for him to go back over it? Madam Secretary.
RS 24131, consider a memorandum resolution purchasing and installing of real-time crime center hardware from One Diversified LLC in the amount of $621,413.
Thank you. Chief Lopez. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council. This afternoon, we're going to present the real-time crime center vendor selection and give you information on the decision that we have made that we're going to recommend to council. In November 2023, City Council approved the purchase of Fusus Technology as a software platform for the Real-Time Crime Center. After approval of the Fusus Technology, a discussion was held pertaining to the construction of the physical location of the Real-Time Crime Center and the estimated cost, which is going to be at the police station at 3304 Community Boulevard. In January 2024, the vendor selection process was initiated. On January 29th, procurement initiated a request for proposal for turnkey solutions for the Real-Time Crime Center under project ID 24-25. Five vendors submitted initial proposal requests. It was ABI at $642,000, Conference Technologies, which is $523,000, Constant Technologies, which is $628,000, GTS was $749,000, and One Diversified was $565,000. In May 2024, the city amended the original request due to changes in the scope of work. At that time, 3 vendors submitted an amended proposal request. At Conference Technology, CTI submitted a request of $588,000 with a 5-year service plan. Constant Technology submitted a request of $599,000 with a 3-year service plan, and One Diversified submitted a request for $621,000 with a 5-year service plan. The recommended vendor submitted a proposal of $621,412.33, which is One Diversified. The Killeen Police Department has assistance funds available under the following accounts. Under the state seizure funds, $233,189. Under the federal seizure funds, $123,547. And $268,000 for the prisoner phone fees and donations, and et cetera. This is the rendered drawing, what it's going to look like when it's complete. It's a 5x2 screen, total 10 screens, 6 workstations, so we can expand in the future. And staff recommends that City Council authorize the city manager or his designee to execute a professional service agreement along with any other legal permissible change orders with Diversified LLC for the design and construction of the Killeen Police Department Real-Time Crime Center under TIPS contract 23090 for the amount of $621,412.33. And we have a representative from One Diversified, Mr. Roberts is here. Do you have any technical questions that you may ask of me or him?
Does that complete?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. And Mr. Roberts, you said, oh, you can come up, sir, please. Councilmember Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, Chief and Mr. Roberts. I understand this request will complement the Fusus software platform for our new real-time crime center. Would this be, excuse me, I'm sorry, out of my mind. Slow down. Would this be considered the final phase of implementation for the entire system?
Yes, sir. And, yes, sir. For the construction, it's a separate project. This is the actual fees, but there's no additional funding or a need for funding to further expand, because we built 6 workstations for future expansion that we build into it. The Fusus Technology is an ongoing contract with Axon that I'm going to bring to you in October.
Understood. The next question, what is the estimated length of time for the hardware to be installed and fully operational?
If we have approved and we're going to start construction immediately, estimated time frame is the second week of December.
Wow, okay. Thank you. That's all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Boyd. Thank you, sir. Is there anything additional you would like to add?
No, ma'am, not at all.
He is a
right.
Killeen resident, so that's good.
That's a good thing.
So we have an on-site expert.
Yes, sir. Chief Lopez, thank you and your team for bringing state-of-the-art equipment and resources that is needed to combat crime in our community, and not only that, to be a resource for other cities if they need our support. Thank
Yes,
you
ma'am.
all.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary.
RS 24132, consider a memorandum resolution authorizing amendment number 1 to the interlocal agreement with the Central Texas Council of Governments for the Household Hazardous Waste event.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Mr. Reynolds. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Council. As stated by the Secretary, this is an amendment to this agreement with the SITCOG for our household hazardous waste event on March 26th of this year. The City Council approved the CCMR for the interlocal agreement with the SITCOG. And that agreement allowed us to receive a grant of $20,000 towards our household hazardous waste event, which opened the event up for all counties within the SITCOG. On that CCMR, we had estimated the cost to be $45,000 on the city's part. The HHW event took place on May 4th of 2024, and we had about 595 vehicles come through. Typically, we see about between 250 to 390 vehicles come through in this event. Due to the success of this event, the total amount due from the city for the actual disposal was $55,369, which is roughly about $9,600 more than what we had asked for in the original agreement. So we come back now to ask for the additional $9,500 some dollars. The funds are available, and it was budgeted in our disposal account. Historically, we have not gone over, we've averaged about $33,000 as the city's portion for this event, so that's why we came in and initially asked for the $45,000. This is a pie chart showing you the vehicles that came through, all the cities that participated. And historically, we see on this pie chart, if you look back over several years, the city of Killeen and the city of Harker Heights are the main contributors for this event. Back several years ago, Harker Heights did contribute to a household hazardous waste event with the city of Killeen. We did reach out to the city of Harker Heights, and they will be helping to fund this event going forward, effective next year. The staff recommends the City Council authorize the city manager or his designee to execute an amendment number 1 to the interlocal agreement between the City of Killeen and the Central Texas Council of Governments for an additional $10,000, really it's $9,000, that's a misprint. The true cost on that is going to be $9,567.25. They did give us an additional adjustment since we built the slides on this. All right.
Councilman Boyd.
No question, just a comment. Just want to recognize your department on the successful execution of this program. Year after year, I'm starting to see more citizens are relying on this program every year to participate in. And it's good to hear the Harker Heights is going to be contributing to it. So great work.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Madam Secretary.
RS 24-133, consider a memorandum resolution authorizing the execution of an ARPA grant agreement with Workforce Development Board Incorporated, doing business as Workforce Solutions of Central Texas, Killeen Incorporated, for the Student Occupational Awareness and Recognition Program in the amount of $106,911.98.
Thank you. Ms. McNair, good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Good afternoon, Council. Background, in fiscal year '23, City of Killeen appropriated ARPA funds for the purpose of establishing the Killeen Youth Empowerment Program. The purpose of the program was to empower local at-risk youth ages 14 to 21 through employment and leadership services, with residency and valid identification requirements being applicable. Due to difficulties identifying qualified candidates for the program, staff sought an established partner willing and able to provide employment coaching and skills to youth attending KISD middle and/or high schools located within Killeen proper with a City of Killeen residential address as an alternative to administering the program within the city's operations. In March of 2024, staff engaged Workforce Solutions of Central Texas, Killeen, to discuss its youth employment programming and options as an opportunity to provide services for KISD students with the City of Killeen residential address utilizing the ARPA funds. In response, a funding proposal for the Student Occupational Awareness and Recognition Program, SOAR, was submitted to the city for consideration. And on June 4th, City of Killeen Finance staff requested and received a motion of direction from City Council to reappropriate certain ARPA funds, which included funding for Workforce Solutions of Central Texas, Killeen for the SOAR program. The SOAR program equips students with the necessary tools for career exploration, education, and engagement. The program also provides comprehensive career guidance, including access to up-to-date labor market data, aiding students in making informed career decisions and preparing them for the workforce. The City of Killeen and SOAR program, using the ARPA, the city will fund and support the promotion of high-demand jobs and career pathways in the city, fostering enhanced collaboration between employers and students. And additionally, funds will facilitate the expansion of the SOAR virtual career exploration program to provide resources, and will provide resources for related events, activities, and administrative expenses. Staff recommends that City Council authorize the city manager or his designee to execute an ARPA-funded grant agreement with Workforce Solutions of Central Texas Killeen for the SOAR program in the amount of $106,911.98. And I would like to note that Mr. Charlie Ayers, the Director of Industry and Education, is scheduled to be here at 3:30. If there are specific questions to the SOAR program that I am not able to answer.
Thank you. There are no questions.
Thank you.
And if they do have questions after hearing from the citizen comments, we will call you and him back up.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything. Resolutions, Madam Secretary. And let the record show Councilwoman Cobb is present.
RS 24-134, consider a memorandum resolution setting the preliminary tax rate for the fiscal year 2025 annual budget and setting the date to hold a public hearing.
Thank you. Mr. Cagle.
Sam, Mayor and Council, some of this will be a little bit of a review, but we are giving you the tax rates that we know of at this point. Most of these are just current tax rates, not proposed. So in this graphic, we are showing you the existing Killeen tax rate and the proposed Killeen tax rate to show you where we would be. And we expect a number of these other tax rates from other cities will go up, but since that really can't be confirmed till they have a vote, we're just leaving their existing tax rates in there for comparative purposes. But you see, even with the proposed rate, we stay pretty much in the middle of the pack. So let me give a little bit of information on property tax rate jargon, I guess you would say, because all of this evolves from the state laws on the state of Texas managing our tax rate for us. First of all, there's the no new revenue rate. That's the tax rate that will generate the same amount of tax revenue as the previous fiscal year on properties that were taxed in both fiscal years. Now, this rate is lower than what we previously showed because we had some misinformation from the appraisal district. When we just received the certified roll, all of that got corrected. So the new no new revenue rate is 59.96 cents. There's the budgeted rate, the tax rate used to prepare the FY 2025 proposed budget. That's 65.73 cents, and that has not changed. The current rate, obviously the rate levied for the current fiscal year, and that stayed the same. Then the voter approval rate, the tax rate that is calculated by increasing the maintenance and operation component of the no new revenue rate by 3.5% plus any unused increment rate, which that rate for fiscal 2025 is 71.14 cents. If you exceed that rate, it requires an automatic election. Now, the proposed tax rate, or what we're showing here is budgeted, is pretty much in the middle of the no new revenue rate and the voter approval rate. So looking at it in a little bit of a chart form, the current rate, if we were to adopt the current rate of 62 cents, 62.08 cents, we would have to reduce the current budget by $3.1 million. Obviously, the budgeted rate that we proposed a balanced budget. If we adopted the no new revenue rate of 59.96, that would require a cut to the proposed budget of $5.3 million. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. The proposed rate, while you see that's the same here and here, because we received the final certified roll from the appraisal district, this proposed rate generates $533,000 more than what we originally proposed. So we'll have a number of options there. And then, of course, we're not considering the voter approval rate, but if you did, well, I assume we're not considering it, but if you did, that would generate just a little over $6 million in additional revenue. So here's the comparison of the operations and debt rate, operations, debt, and the total rate from FY24 to FY25. And this is based on the proposed budgeted rate, and it shows an increase of 3.6 cents. Just to look in historical, all the way back to 2007, our tax rate was 69.5 cents. It peaked at 74.98 and stayed there from 2015 to 2020, when it dropped all the way in 24 to 62.08, and then the proposal today of 65.73. Look at the exemptions. We've been over this a lot, but 57% of the exemptions are the disabled veterans, and 37.7 is public, like this building or a school building or a church, 37.71%. Now, to look a little bit more into the veterans exemption, as we said, it now exceeds $2 billion of our tax base is exempted. And how does that transfer into revenue? That is $13.77 million in revenue loss from the exemption. And once again, I think I'll say this every time. The reason we bring this up is because it is a very significant number, and because the state passed this law and completely misidentified the fiscal note. As we said before, the city of Killeen by itself has already exceeded the estimates for the entire state of Texas. And what we're asking for is for the state to reimburse us because we're disproportionately impacted. Many cities don't even notice this exemption. It's so small. For the city of Killeen, it's exceptional. But there are also other exemptions. Another one that has grown a lot, and we're showing you that, it's the freeze. Once you are 65 and apply for the freeze, your taxes are frozen. They can't go over that amount. They can go down, but you can see that jumped. Now, this is revenue loss. This is not value. So the revenue loss from the senior freeze went from just under $1 million to $1.6 million. Now, there could be almost an infinite number of options on the tax rate, but given the fact that we had to propose a budget before we had the certified roll, and then we received the certified roll after that proposal, we're laying out a couple of options, but there can be just about anything that you can imagine would be on the table. And the first option is just to leave it as it is, and that continues the 3.65 cent property tax rate increase. And how that plays out on a homestead, average taxable homestead. Currently, the average taxable value of a homestead is $202,000, and that went up to $220,000. So when you look at the monthly cost on that of the increase in value, and the tax rate would be $16.45 a month. Option 2 would be to reduce that amount to zero out the increase in revenue from the new certified roll. That means that the operations rate would not go up as much. The debt rate would actually go down a little bit. There we go. And that would be result with the same values, obviously, the result would be $15.47 a month. Let me make sure I got that. Yep. So a summary of the process: the city council sets a preliminary tax rate. It establishes a ceiling. That's what you'll do tonight. The adopted tax rate can't exceed the preliminary tax rate, but it can go below it. You can, whatever rate you set tonight, you can go lower than that when you finally adopt the rate. There has to be a tax rate public hearing September 3rd, and after that public hearing, set the tax rate. This looks at, this is a review of the alternatives that I showed earlier, where the current rate, if we adopted that, it's a loss of $3.1 million to the budget. The budgeted rate, obviously nothing. The no new revenue rate would be a loss of $5.3 million. The proposed rate would be an increase of $533,000 over the budget that was proposed. And the voter approval rate, all the way up at 71.14 cents, would be an increase of $6 million. So our recommendation is to set the tax rate at 65.73 cents, the same rate that was proposed in the budget. These are the next steps, is to set a preliminary tax rate, whatever you decide on, and take a record vote tonight that also sets the date and time and place of the tax rate public hearing, and that vote to set the tax rate. And what we have scheduled right now is a public hearing on September 3rd, 2024. Oops. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Cagle. I just wanted to make a comment. After talking to other mayors in neighboring cities, there are other cities that have concerns about the disabled veteran tax exemption because of the increase, and in some areas concerned about their budget as it continues to go up. So it's just not us. Councilmember Segarra.
Thank you, Mayor. And just for one more time, and I know you explained it, but I'm still a little bit confused here. I was just trying to figure this out on the budgeted and the proposed, because they're the same percentage, right? But the difference from the proposed rate is 500. And why is that again? Just
Yes, sir. That is a little bit difficult. So the budgeted rate, this is when we proposed the budget. We proposed this tax rate, but it had to be based on the preliminary roll.
Yeah.
And that's all we knew at the time. And after we proposed the budget, we get the final roll. And the final tax roll was higher than what we based the proposed budget on. So with the same tax rate, the higher tax base resulted in $533,000 in additional revenue.
And that's because we had more on the tax roll
Yes, sir.
than what we thought. So
Yes,
the
sir.
percentage, okay, that kind of explained. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, we always talk about the exemptions, and they're getting bigger and bigger every year.
Mm-hmm.
But we always find a way, and I know a lot of that has to do with you and your staff, but we always find a way to get a balanced budget, and I know that gets harder and harder every year. And I hope, and I think most people understand, it's not that, we want to charge anybody any more taxes. We definitely don't want to take anything away from our veterans. It's when budget comes in, everything that is there, it's for services to our citizens. And when we come up short, then in time, what we'd have to do is either cut some services, whether it's less staff at the utility, when you're waiting in line, or, there's so many less police officers, less fire departments, and then we get people saying, we don't have enough, so you got to balance it out. But I think, while we're trying to lobby the state to do something, I think in the future, we're going to have to figure out a way to come up with our own funding and additional resources to make that up, similar to, and I brought this up before, and I think it's similar, we did it with our street maintenance, and, us as council members, we're just going to have to figure out to make up that difference, because it's not going to get better. And I don't mind if everybody in Killeen has 100% exemption because they well deserve, and rightly so. But with all that said, we, or whoever's here, still has to figure out a way to pay our service, pay our police officers, if we don't get reimbursed. And the way it looks, we've been battling that for so many years, and we're just getting worse. And I think that we're going to have to figure out a way to come up with some sort of funding to make up for that. So, thank you.
Yes, sir. When you look at this, if you remember, this was proposed as a statewide program, and it should be paid for out of state revenue. That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Because the cost to run the city, you can argue about it on the margins, but there's a certain cost. And if 15 or 20% of the people don't pay taxes, then the other 85% have to make up that difference in one of two ways, either with higher taxes or lower services.
Yeah.
It just becomes a math problem. And that's why, since the state voted on this, it should be paid for statewide, not locally.
No, I agree, definitely. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Sagara. Are there any more questions? Thank you, Mr. Cagle. Thank you, Chief. Madam Secretary.
RS 24-135, consider a memorandum resolution awarding bid number 2414 Watercrest Road reconstruction to Cash Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $10,952,337.65.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Good afternoon, Mr. Revelle and Mr. Zager.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem Gonzalez and City Council. This is the bid award associated with the Watercrest Road reconstruction project. Just a bit of background, part of the capital improvement plan for 2022, also a part of the street reconstruction CO bond issuance in 2022. As you recall, this project will allow for the full replacement of Watercrest Road from Clear Creek Road to Willow Springs Road. It also will include narrowing lanes from 4 to 3, some street lights, some sidewalks on both sides, and a new traffic signal at the intersection with Robinette Road. Bonds were open on June the 13th. We received one bond from Cash Construction Company in the amount of $10,952,337. This really shows the project extents, and I really should share that that number came in about $2.5 million below our engineer's estimate. And so staff is recommending that this one bid be awarded to Cass Construction Company for the Watercrest Road reconstruction project in the amount of $10,952,337, and that the city manager be authorized to execute the agreement within state law. And then, as the mayor mentioned, I myself, as well as the city engineer, are here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Revelle. Councilmember Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With Watercrest Road being in West Killeen, I can't help but express my joy for this item. This actually makes me happy. Like Bunny Trail, which is poorly deteriorated, citizens have endured the roadway much longer than expected, but I'm excited about this project and that it will fix a lot of issues that citizens expressed concern about during the 2022 open house that we held out there at Haynes Elementary. These include realigning the road, installing a traffic signal at Robinette, placing sidewalk along both sides of the road, which was important to citizens, incorporating street trees, upgrading the lighting, making minor drainage improvements, and narrowing the lanes so citizens feel safe traveling out their neighborhood. A lot of folks don't realize when you come out of those subdivisions, you're right on traffic. And with them being narrow, you have more line of sight when you pull out just those extra few feet, and that was important to citizens. But just two important questions I had relating to this. Once a construction contract is awarded, what is the estimated length of time for the contractor to actually get on site, set up barricades and all that good stuff and start excavating?
So we're anticipating that once this is approved, it'll take probably 1 to 2 months to get contracts ready. We are expecting the contractor to immediately mobilize, and so we don't expect that to take too much time.
Understood. Very important information.
Absolutely.
Second question and the last one. What is the projected timeline for completion of the project?
We're anticipating that once construction starts, it'll take about 12 to 14 months to complete.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Because I know Bunny Trail is at 300 days, and a lot of folks were confused. Why does it take so long? And having explained that it's a full reconstruction project similar to what's going to happen at Watercrest.
Yes,
Those
sir.
are all the questions I have, and I'm pleased for this day. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Are there any more questions for Mr. Revelle? Are there any more questions? Thank you, Mr. Revelle.
Yes,
And Mr. Zager, please stay around, because after citizens' comments, there may be questions.
And there is one error on the slide that I want to point out. The award is to Cash Construction. So just want to make sure that that's clear. And all the documents do say that. But as you can see toward the end, there's another name mentioned there. That's just an error. But all the documents say it's Cash Construction.
Mine says Cash Construction, so I
Okay.
guess that was made later. I was just
Okay.
checking.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right, thank you. Madam Secretary.
RS 24-136, consider a memorandum resolution approving change order number 1 to the Watercrest Road reconstruction project in the amount of $290,000.
Mr. Revelle.
Yes, ma'am. Mayor Nash King and Mayor Pro Tem Gonzalez and the City Council. This is actually obviously related to Watercrest Road reconstruction project. This is really a change order we wasn't anticipating, but one that we really do need. When the bidding was done, the miscellaneous construction line item did not have the intended amount. This is really, really important because this covers those unforeseen things that may happen in the field during construction, that if we don't have this line item in place, it would delay the project. And so this is a typical line item associated with all construction projects, and again, that intended amount was left out. We are requesting that amount be restored or put in place for $290,000 for miscellaneous construction items. And again, this will allow us to move things forward in the project that may happen that's unexpected, that surprises, that's not associated with a bid line item. All things associated with change orders, just like this change order that exceeds the appropriate state limits, 50,000, 2%, will have to come to this council for approval. But again, this line item here will allow us to put this in the budget, in the bid line item, so as these items come up, with the appropriate documentation, we're able to deal with that as a matter of part of the execution of the contract during construction, as opposed to having to delay and try to figure out how to get it done otherwise. So staff is recommending that the city council would authorize the city manager to execute this first change order. Again, putting that $290,000 in place for miscellaneous construction items that will allow us to continue to move the project forward as construction happens, and should unexpected things pop up, we're able to deal with them.
Councilmember Boyd.
I don't have anything. Sorry about that. Thank you.
And Mr. Revelle, could you please explain, you said it was left out. Would you please go into detail with that? Because the citizen comments will be comments, so would you please go in detail with that? for us?
So typically, when a bid is done, the responders respond to every element of the bid. And in this case here, when the bid was reviewed by our consultant team, it was shown that that number that that should have been there was excluded. So it was left out of the bid from Cash Construction Company. And so what helps in this case here is one bidder. There's an opportunity to figure out how we deal with that. And so we thought that the best way to do it would be basically to say, hey, this was left out. It's a necessary construction cost related to the project to keep the project moving forward without delays that could have potential costs. So the best way to do that is to request a change order. Had this been included from the very beginning, that whatever that number was, as long as we agreed to it as a city, would have been included in the construction for this project, and there wouldn't have been a need for a change order. So if, for instance, if they would have had that 290 to begin with, it would have been already added to whatever the 10 million, whatever that number is for construction costs. So it was left out in error. It was intended to be there. It's a critical element that we need to have so that we can keep the project moving forward should these kinds of things occur.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Riddell? Thank you, Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Riddell. Mr. Sagers. Madam Secretary.
RS 24-137, consider a memorandum resolution approving amendments to the economic development policy.
Mr. Rivera.
Yes, ma'am. So each year, the council has an opportunity to review the economic development policy. And so this is what this is allowing us to do, to see if there are any amendments for consideration by the council. And then also, a part of that also requires a look at the economic incentive agreements that are active, just to kind of give you all the status report and update. And so this is what we're doing today, is really reviewing the policy, seeing if there are opportunities for amendments. We did get a motion of direction that presented that opportunity, and then as well as looking at the active incentive agreements that this council or previous council has authorized. As you'll note, there are 5 active incentive agreements: Northwest Tidwell, First National Bank, Dongjing, Anthem Park, Southern Roots, and MGC. And then the next tables really show basically what the investment that was made as a part of each one. So for instance, the Walmart project, that's the one, Bunny Trail and Stan Sluter. It's a private investment of $5 million in real property, commitment of 340 full-time equivalent jobs. $1 million is what was committed in terms of sales tax reimbursement, and that has been completed. First National Bank is similar. 11.5 million real property investment, 1.8 million personal property. You see what the job commitments are, and they're still meeting those. They certified everything with us. And then also 100% of real property increment for 10 years, and they've already received their first payment from us, the first of the 10 years for the 106K. Dongjing, as you recall, back in November 22, you all approved the 25% personal property tax reimbursements for 10 years not to exceed the $435,999. You see the private investment that they have made, $30 million in real property, $38.5 million in personal property, and that one has not started yet in terms of the reimbursement, but will be starting next year. Anthem Park, you all are aware, that's our really biggest commitment. Over $500 million in real property investment once it's fully built out, $12.7 million in terms of incremental real property reimbursement through our TERS 2 for infrastructure. It is under construction, as you all are aware, and so the reimbursement has not started yet. Southern Roots, which is located downtown, Brewery, just approved that agreement in January 2024. You see the private property investment, the jobs commitment, and then the city's commitment of investing $30,000 over the next 5 years for a total of $150,000 to go toward property improvements under construction. That hasn't started yet. Most likely will start next year. And then the last one is rounded up by MGC. And I'll just take a pause and go to the next slide. So those are the active incentive agreements. In addition, as we mentioned, the council gave a motion of direction on July 9th to amend Section 310 of the Economic Development Policy. That was in response to a request and discussion associated with the Innovation Black Chamber of Commerce as it relates to them being an identified workforce development resource for the city of Killeen. We met with Mr. Russell, and we were able to receive the language as noted on the slide that really shows the role that the Innovation Black Chamber of Commerce sees themselves playing in the economic development policy for the city of Killeen as it relates to workforce development to assist underserved entrepreneurs and small disadvantaged businesses. In addition, there was another opportunity for us to make a policy amendment. This is associated with the North Killeen revitalization area. As you all are aware, that's our area where we're trying to incentivize and encourage development. That's really from the extents of W.S. Young to the east, Fort Hood Street to the west, West Hallmark and Terrace Drive to the south, and then the city limits to the north with Fort Cavascos. As you all are aware, that program allows for incentives associated with fee waivers. But in addition to that, we've set up an additional program called the Sewer Rehabilitation and Redevelopment Incentive Program, which will also provide financial assistance up to $20,000 and a 50% match for commercial sewer improvements for commercial and infill developments. We believe that this is going to be really helpful toward making sure that infill housing, making sure that businesses that are trying to stay downtown have some resources that allow for that to happen. Specifically in downtown, one big problem that this is focused on trying to address is many of the businesses downtown are connected to the same lateral, and they call it the common sewer lateral. And so when one fails, the other fails too. So to some extent, this will help alleviate those kinds of issues. There's businesses that may have grease traps, concerns, and needs in that regard. This will identify that. And as we mentioned, some infill opportunities for those new developments that may be coming to North Killeen. Again, the maximum is $20,000, but we believe any amount that could help improve that small capital stack that allow that development to happen in North Killeen is something that we should be championing. So staff is recommending updating the economic development policy to address the Innovation Black Chamber of Commerce in Section 310 for workforce, and then also to add the North Killeen Sewer Rehabilitation and Redevelopment Incentive Program in the North Killeen revitalization area. And then I myself, as well as Ms. Kate, is here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Revelle. Councilmember Sagara.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Revelle, I know that when we did I don't know if it was a motion of direction or something like that.
Yes, sir.
Adding the Black Chamber of Commerce as a resource.
Yes, sir.
We also talked about adding them as a non-voting member. Does this accomplish that, or is that a separate issue?
That would be a separate issue. We focus on the economic development policy because
Okay.
that's the city policy. That one is more so of a KEDC.
Yeah, and
Yes.
that's kind of where I was getting at, because I know that when we did that and approved it, I know some comments were made that we didn't know the policy of how we get that done. How do we get an additional seat there? So, yeah. So that was my question. It's just, I didn't know if this accomplished that or not, so,
No, sir.
okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Did you have a question, Mayor Pro Tem? Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Mr. Revelle.
Yes, ma'am.
Council, we're going to take a 5-minute. We have one more before we take our break. We'll take, Madam Secretary, we have one more, and after that, we're going to take a 5-minute break, and we'll come back for citizen comments. Madam Secretary.
OR 24009. Consider an ordinance repealing ordinance number 23042 and reinstating the municipal court as a division of the Finance Department.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. City Attorney Clemens, good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. This is your municipal court item. A little bit of background. In 2002, the city established the municipal court as a municipal court of record, and since then, the city has reorganized several times. The municipal court of record is currently a department of the city. That was done per ordinance number 23-042. The proposed ordinance would repeal that ordinance and reinstate the municipal court as a division of finance, as it was organized previously. So your alternatives are to approve this ordinance reinstating the municipal court as the division of finance, or not approve the ordinance.
Thank you, City Attorney. Any questions? All right, council, we'll take a 5-minute break. All right, welcome back, everyone. Are we ready? Thank you, sir, so kindly. We will now go into our citizen comments, and the citizen comments are on agenda items. Council, this is your opportunity. If you have anything you want to say in reference to the agenda items. We will now start off. You have 4 minutes. Melissa Brown. Good afternoon.
Ten minutes to ask questions and engage with citizens, and how many council members came out in the gallery? So tell me again why citizens should believe that you haven't already made up your mind on how you're going to vote. So I will go ahead and just presume that you are going to vote to support the budgeted tax rate. Let's take a couple of things into consideration. We are comparing ourselves to cities with higher per capita and higher per household incomes. For multiple years in a row now, I'm glad this is important multiple years in a row now, we are anticipated to bring in more property tax revenue than what we had budgeted for. We should have plenty of additional developer fees coming in when you consider Thousand Oaks, Anthem Park, and Turnbow Ranch, just as a few examples, unless we aren't expecting those to actually build out this year. When we want to talk about the veterans exemption, the senior freeze, let's stop taking taxable property for government use. Let's stop giving away tax exemptions for 99 and 75 years. I'm sorry, up to 99 years. Regardless, know that this process that we had today is not only unfair to citizens, it is downright disrespectful. Citizens did not have access to these slides before this meeting. And if they weren't here before 4 p.m., they are excluded from giving you any input on the preliminary tax rates. If you want to make up for exemptions, bring in industry that isn't tax exempt, pays well, and generates sales tax, but stop trying to backdoor tax the citizens who earned exemptions with new and increased fees. Let's talk about what you didn't talk about. Citizens got no preview of the proposed City Hall updates to talk to you about before you talk about a bond election in May. Are we still looking at a 3-block City Hall now, as was suggested at the last bond meeting? Or are we going with 2, as presented the last time to the public? Most of the public who wasn't able to make it at 4 p.m. to go to the bond meeting wouldn't know that a 3-block City Hall was even in consideration. Nobody asked, by the way, for me to back up really quickly, no one asked whose idea it was or what the benefit would be for reinstating the court as the division of the finance department instead of letting the judge operate his courthouse. I did not hear that question come up, and that should be an important one. That's about the only thing I wasn't able to research, but I'm tired of doing the homework for the council that doesn't listen. Let's talk about KEDC. I told you a couple weeks ago how much money they are spending on things that do not bring an ROI to the city. So take all of that money and give it to the Black Chamber. At least they're bringing in more jobs per dollar that they put out. And then let's go ahead and talk about the proposed budget and CIP. There's a lot I don't see in there, including a town hall where we can actually have a discussion.
Michael Fernino. Good afternoon. You have 4 minutes.
Prior to the meeting, I assured Mr. Russell that when it comes to IBCC and KEDC, I say, in the spirit of true competition and business, which not many people around here seem to understand, how about we just half the budget we're giving to KEDC and give the other half to Mr. Russell and his organization? Let him compete. I mean, he's operating under his own funds and his own willpower, and he's producing more for his efforts than KEDC is. KEDC, I think, is the best metaphor. Their little building over there used to be a train station, and every day, throughout hours of the day and night, trains are just rolling on past. Perfect metaphor for missed opportunities. We've got a railroad, 2 airports, and the interstate running through this town, and we have no heavy industry. We do not have well-paying jobs, which seems to be the general consensus of a lot of the populace. I've had the opportunity to discuss this and listen to other people's concerns, specifically in District 4. I've actually talked to people. See, I don't have to say, well, we've heard from other people. I've been on their doorsteps. I've talked to them. They're tired of commuting to Temple, Austin, Waco. They want jobs here, not jobs that give the city a lot of income, but they have to commute outside to get their jobs. That chemical plant employs 12 people, aren't even from here. Yeah, that's real good for the citizens around here. With Watercrest, I hope we have an accident fund all set up for that cockamamie project for the park right there. where the entrance is going to be at the bottom of two hills. I guess at least for the fire station right there, they don't have to get the call on 911. They'll have heard it. As long as they have the garage door open, they'll just know to roll out. Veterans exemption for taxes. I'm sorry, there's more than a few folks up there that I can smell it on you, that you're a little bit jealous that there's a few of us out here that actually stood up, put our lives, our bodies, our minds on the line for people that we never even met in their defense and actually did some stuff. And we paid a price for it. We earned that. There's folks who are sitting behind me that I disagree with all day long, but it's my understanding they're disabled veterans as well. They earned it. I earned it. Get off our backs. All right? You want to talk about the veterans exemption? And I suspect that Mr. Cagle just can't stand us by the way he talks about it. But I will say this. We pay Stan Schluter $100,000 a year. We got a road named after this character. He's supposed to be lobbying for this stuff. Okay? If he's not producing any results down to the State House, pull his salary or rename that whole thing Boulevard of Broken Dreams. There's money wasted. There's $100,000 that could go back in the budget to provide us with the things we need. Where's he? Just like KEDC, good money after bad. How many people have seen Stan Schluter in this chamber? I've seen the character one time. He barely spoke, introduced himself. Phone lines to Pete Flores, Dr. Buckley, their offices are open. They should be working for us. They should be listening to you on our behalf. They should be stepping up. That's what they got into politics for. City Hall project. City Hall should reflect, and most of the people that I spoke with, and I spoke to a lot of them, the City Hall project, we don't need it. Right? I'm told that the upstairs, oh, the floor can't take it. We've got empty buildings in here. Empty out the filing cabinets, hire an intern and one supervisor at Central Records Facility. You can relieve the stress on the building up there. There's nothing wrong with this building. This room looks nice. It looks good on camera. Let's keep using this one. This is just good money after bad. We're paying money that we're supposed to be getting a benefit for, and then you especially don't like the disabled veterans exemption. We earned it. We earned it. So stop trying to go around it with these little fees and all this other stuff, and we're not seeing anything
Thank you,
for it.
sir. Ron Jupiter. Good afternoon, sir. You have 4 minutes.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
and Madam Mayor Pro Tem. Before I begin, I would just like to say thank you so much for what you all do in the city. I rise in support of considering the partnership with IBCC for what they do. I've been a founding member of IBCC, and I tell you what, if you ever come around us, we're folks who have retired and who have served. And to me and the folks that I volunteer with, it's just another opportunity to serve this beautiful city. So thank you for your consideration, and I yield.
Ronnie Russell. Good afternoon. 4 minutes.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, City Attorney, and the Secretary, and everyone that's in here. First, I would like to say I appreciate the time and the interest and the energy in getting to this point. Once the City Council meeting was complete, I will say that Mr. Revelle and Kate was very active in getting the conversation about the Killeen Economic Development Policy. Like, they called me, you know, it wasn't an email, they called me, walk across the street, and said, hey, let's figure this out. Let's see what's the verbiage is going to be. So I created the preliminary verbiage for it, emailed it over there, then we came down and we began to create the line items and what it's going to say. So definitely appreciate Mr. Revelle and his team over there at the city planner, the whole office over there. So of course, I'm in full support of the conversation about adding us as Workforce Solution because we actually do it. You know, it's not something that we talk about, it's something that we do, and then people talk about it. I say it all the time, we don't sell the chamber, we add value. Because once you add value to an environment, then you become valuable. And that's what we do here in this city. So one of the things that we definitely want to add to it is we're going to be launching our leadership course. We're going to be launching our youth financial course, which we partner with the bank. Once they go through this boot camp, the parent then opens up a savings account with $25, and the bank is in partnership where they'll add another $100 on top of that. So we'll be retilling the ground from an economic perspective with the children, teaching them not just the value of money, but also teaching them what to do with it as far as banking and stuff like that goes. So that's why we here. That's economics should start within the home, and then it comes out into the local city with the citizens and stuff like that. So the funding for us, definitely would love to work more with KEDC, definitely love to work more with the city. Definitely love to figure out how to be added to the KEDC on that, the board itself, ex officio, whatever is going to take place. So whatever your decision is tonight as far as the funding go, we work for it. We've done it. We put in the work. We continue to put in the work. We continue to put in the effort. And regardless of what your decision is, it's not going to stop us from doing what we do because we have an actual mission and we're on that mission. And we're going to continue to work strong and work together within the city as well. So thank you and I appreciate you.
Good afternoon, City Mayor, Mayor Pro Temp, Council, City Manager, Mr. Cagle, and residents of Killeen. A few things I'd like to talk about real quick. Regarding the RS 24-134, the tax rate, I have to say that the briefing that the city manager gave very enlightening. It explained a lot of questions that I had, and I think by doing that, it might have opened up or answered other questions that other citizens have. It was very well presented, and I appreciate that. You're going to have a tough decision here shortly. Needs to be made about either to the increase of tax rate, but also I ask that you take a look at the budget and see where cuts could be made to help. I know I think you said it was a $3 million difference. I'm not saying cut all the $3 million, but whatever little bit can be cut will help. On DS 24046, the bond issue, I attended a couple of bond committee meetings regarding this, and I have this feeling that if this is such a supported item by the people, why would the bond committee want to discuss bringing in a organization to help sell this to the people? From my understanding, the city can't hire a company to come in and do it. But if it's such a good and popular ideal, why does it have to be sold to the people? On DS 24049, the Innovation Black Chamber of Commerce, I personally think that this one here is like a no-brainer. This should be the easiest decision y'all make while on the body. The Innovation of Black Chamber of Commerce has shown they have what it takes to get things done. They do a lot for the city. They bring in local businesses that help the city more than these big corporations because the backbone is the small businesses. And this is what they have shown. They have taken the initiative to step up and help the citizens. Unfortunately, that program did not work out, but it showed that they have what it takes to get things done or get things going. And also reiterating on a statement, the support from the city staff to work with the IBC to get the language and stuff for the KEDC done. That's outstanding. DS 24050, dissolved the Crime Solution Committee. Based upon its track record, I think that's probably your best thing to do, because it doesn't produce anything and it's not very productive when you have to cancel meetings because you don't have a quorum. And these are the folks that volunteered to be on this committee, but they failed to show up, so why have it if no one's going to participate? On RS 24134, I just ask, can it be explained more how this falls under the ARPA program? And under the municipal court, could you please explain in more detail on why this action is being recommended? And the answer of just because it was once does that way does not really explain why. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Gukaisen, once we go through all of the citizen comments, that question about ARPA funding and also the courts will be answered. Anka Nagu, good afternoon. You have 4 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to serve on the Crime Solutions Committee. I also want to thank former Police Chief Kimball, Assistant Chiefs Gearhart and Donahue, and Chief Lopez for their participation in our committee meetings. I've been on the Crime Solutions Committee from the very beginning, and I'm currently serving as the Vice Chair. The Crime Solutions Committee is a great idea, at least in theory. However, implementing it has been a different story. We have experienced a lot of changes, both in how the meetings were conducted and in the number of members, especially members attending. I want to say to anyone who signs up to be on a committee to please show up, because you not showing up could jeopardize the actual meeting. We need a quorum to meet. So please, if you sign up to be on a committee, please show up. In our meetings, we spent a lot of time discussing what we would like to do, but not much time actually doing what we said we would do, except for making changes to bylaws. Dissolving the Crime Solutions Committee does not mean that we don't believe there are solutions to crime. It also does not mean that we don't care to find solutions to crime. It just means that time and effort can be spent somewhere else in order to achieve the same goal, reduce crime. People are not born criminals. They become criminals, some of them do. Something has to happen in their lives to convince them that crime is an acceptable path to take. I trained in boxing gyms in high crime neighborhoods in East Austin for years when I was an elite boxer. What I witnessed and experienced was the amazing power of dedication to a common goal. I saw young adults, many of them, who could have been out in the streets fighting or selling drugs or robbing businesses. Instead, they were in the boxing gym day after day after day. What they needed was a way to prove themselves and to have an outlet for their emotions. Boxing showed them that they do not have to resort to violence to prove themselves. Like the mayor stated at our last committee meeting, the police chief started an advisory board, and at least some of the goals overlap with the Crime Solutions Committee. So as the mayor stated, there's no point in having two things that do the same thing. It's kind of wasteful. It's counterproductive. I talked to Commissioner Minor and also Commissioner Whitson. Commissioner Minor told me that he will support whatever the city decides about the Crime Solutions Committee. And Commissioner Whitson also said the same thing the mayor said, that it just doesn't make sense to have a Crime Solutions Committee and the Police Chief Advisory Board, since they are both aimed at doing the same thing, reducing crime. Thank you.
Mr. Bill Percat, you have 4 minutes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, Mr. Cagle. I'm just here to show my support for the idea of a new city hall. This is a great building, but it is what it is. And a purpose-built new city hall that encompasses as much of the city departments as possible. And of course, not everything can fit under that one roof, but it'll make it very convenient for a lot of people. I think it'd be a big bonus to the downtown area because as we try to get more and more small businesses set up here, come lunchtime or after work or whatever, these people can actually walk to all these local businesses. I would suggest or highly recommend that when you look at this option, that you keep in mind not only what you need today, but what you're going to need 20 years from now, because nothing would be more frustrating than to sell this idea to the residents, and we got a really great building, and then a few years down the road, you come back and say, well, we're going to need more money because we've outgrown it. You'll see that with some of the schools that were expanded. Get rid of the portable buildings, you got a beautiful school. A couple years later, the portable buildings are back there again. So obviously they didn't plan for their long-term needs. So I would also keep this in mind, not to take up too much of the downtown area. I like the idea of building up, having a small footprint so that you have a lot more available space for small businesses to start up. 2-3-story building along with a parking garage. Those of you that go to the Temple VA, you see their beautiful 3-level parking garage. That might be a little bit big, but a combination of ground level parking and a multi-level parking garage, I think would be a good combination. And anyway, bring it before the voters. It'll either be important enough for them to approve it or not, but at least give them the option. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that turned in a consent form? With that being said, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda? And that was a citizen comment form. Did anybody else turn in one? Okay, no. All right. Councilmember Board.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Councilmember Solomon.
I'll second it.
All in favor, yes. All opposed, no. Motion carries 6-0. Can I get a motion to approve RS-24-134? Madam Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam. I move to set the preliminary tax rate at .6573 and set the date of September 3rd, 2024 for the public hearing on the tax rate to be held at 3 p.m. at 101 North College Street, Killeen, Texas.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Mayor, I second that motion.
Madam Secretary, we need to take a record vote.
Yes, ma'am. Starting with Councilmember Alvarez. Yes. Councilmember Cobb. Yes. Councilmember Solomon.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gonzalez.
Yes.
Councilmember Sagara.
Yes.
Councilmember Boyd.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. The motion passes 6-0 with Councilmember Riaco Adams absent. Can I get a motion to approve RS-24-135? Councilmember Alvarez.
Mayor, I move to approve RS 24-135.
Councilmember Boyd.
Second.
All in favor, yes. All opposed, no. Motion's carried 6-0. Can I get a motion to approve RS-24-136? Councilmember Alvarez.
I move to approve RS 24-136.
Councilmember Boyd.
Second.
All in favor, yes. All opposed, no. Motion approved 6-0. Can I get a motion to approve RS-24-137? Councilmember Alvarez, do you take your name off? Councilmember Boyd.
Make a motion to approve RS-24-137.
Mayor Pro Tem Gonzalez.
Second.
All in favor, yes. All opposed, no. Motion carries 6-0. Can I get a motion to approve OR-24-009? Can I get a motion to approve OR-24-009? Councilmember Solomon.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve RS 24-009.
Councilmember Cobb.
I second that motion.
All in favor, yes. All opposed, no. Motion carries 6-0. Madam Secretary, discussion items.
DS 24045, City Hall project update.
Thank you.
Yes,
Mr. Cagle.
apologies.
I had questions. I want to make sure before we go in there, did we answer we go into those questions? It was the bond and it was judge. Okay, I just want to make sure. All right.
You mean to answer those?
Do you want to wait till after the presentation? You can answer it now. It's up to you. We can answer. Please do not disrupt the meeting. Mr. Kager, those are discussion items that do not need a vote on. So we'll go through them and then you can give your comment. So for the individuals that are looking and the new members that the residents are in the audience, those are items that we're getting ready to do our discussion items. There's not a, you can do a motion of direction, but the items that we just voted on, we have not discussed the ones that were proposed to us in a question. Thank you. Mr. Cagle.
Mayor and Council, we have Denny Bowles here with, excuse me, with BSW Architects. If you'll recall, he gave a presentation earlier on all the work that went into determining the spaces in the City Hall. Tonight, he's going to bring you the layouts once again with some conceptual drawings and some prices. Mr. Bowles.
Thank you, Mr. Cagle, and good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, and staff. Thank you for this opportunity to update you on where we're at and working with the staff on the study we're doing for a new city hall and municipal court and police substation as well. Last time we talked, there's been a lot of information gathering, and we've been going through that, and we worked with the staff on what appears to be, we consider a good concept to work with and move forward to, and also to get some pricing on and what that is, and also a schedule, and you can see the impact of time on the project as well. So just to give you an update, before, we talked about items 1 through 4, just the programming, getting our understanding the staffing, the square footage, and understanding the site and what that's doing to us, what the challenges are. And so here we're to talk about item number 5, kind of what we settled in on a concept that we kind of targeted to talk to you about, and also what that pricing would be. So the schedule would look at this right now, is you have a May 2025 bond election, and if successful, it would take a few months to get consultant proposals and get under contract with the city, so design would begin in August of 2025 approximately. Then you have about a year of design and pricing. This is just not design. We would have interim pricing periods during the process to see and confirm where we are on pricing. For this project, I would recommend a construction manager at risk delivery method to have a contractor on board during design. This is due to the nature of the project, and also the project will have phasing. And so having somebody on board for long lead items and for coordinating the phasing would be beneficial to the city. So this is what we would recommend, but ultimately that is up to the city's choice. The project would bid in September of 2026. Again, you allow some time there to get under contract. So construction on phase 1, which would be the city hall, would begin in January of 2027. Talking approximately 14 months, 16 months for construction in that time frame. Part of that is due to the option we're going to show you will be to abandon part of the street that connects the blocks, so you have some extra work there. And then substantial completion would be in May of 2028 for that, approximately. So your furniture installation would be will follow after that, and then owner move in. So for phase 1, that's approximately what you'd be looking at. Then also what we're proposing is a renovation of the Killeen Arts and Activity Center because that will be emptying out. Those departments will be going into the new city hall. And we would propose to take the police substation and renovate the Killeen Arts and Activity Center. To do so, getting the police substation out of the city hall has benefits just due to the nature of clientele, 24/7 facility, access. It has benefits to both. And so that would take approximately 6 months-ish or so, and then, of course, they would move in ultimately in February of 2029. So as you can see, this is quite the process. But when you have a phased project and the scope of work we're talking here, that's about the time frame.
Mr. Bowles, just to clarify for everybody, the Arts and Activity Center is just talking about the office portion, not the actual meeting spaces, and those uses would still remain.
Yeah. So just for the Killeen, for the city hall, you're seeing the departments here that it took. We met with each one of these multiple times, with each department here. These will be included in the city hall, so you're consolidating a lot of departments into one area, which I think long-term has benefit for the city. In summary, the city hall staff, and this is projecting out 20 years to 2043, 2044 is what this does, 20-year projection. So you're talking a staff of 214 for city hall, municipal court, approximately 89,800 square feet. Then you include in there the municipal court, staff of 35 and square footage of 25, a little over 25,000 square feet. So overall, you have a facility that will accommodate 249 staff, 20 years out, along with 114,912 square feet. The police north substation, again, these were the varying departments that we went through the programming and meeting with the police the patrol investigations, bicycle patrol, also training. They need an area for classroom training. and just support areas for the patrol, lockers and bathrooms and things of that nature. So that, again, looking 20 years out, that's the staff is 63, square footage of 21,532, and as you can see, the Killeen Arts and Activity Center accommodates that, both from a square footage and a parking standpoint, both public and staff. So, as you can see here, some of these items here, for example, the yellow box does include the 3-block area that we've discussed. We talked about a third block because it can give the city some flexibility here on the parking. One of the challenges here is you're bringing both a consolidated number of staff, which in the long term is great for efficiency, but also public. And so one of the things to make clear is one of the things we did not do was to include off-street parking, which you can, off-street parking for your parking needs. But that can always be relooked at. What we want to do is just get a benchmark and say, if you accommodate all public and all staff within the city property, what does that look like? And then we can, adjust from there. As you can see, we'll have to relocate the IT building, permits and code enforcement, and we talked about the police annex. And so those facilities would need to be moved. And so your police annex can stay in place while the city hall is being constructed. And then once that is done, then we would look at renovating and then we can move the departments that are in the KAAC into City Hall. And that allows us to renovate the KAC to get the police substation out of there. And then we can do phase 2 with that along with the parking garages. So again, there's some, working with the contractor on exactly how this works, but this is what we would propose as kind of the starting point to do this. So you are looking at a phase project is part of this. And when you move out the IT building and permits, there's also some cost that needs to be for a temporary location. As best as possible, you try and, in a phasing project, move them one time. And for the most part, that's what we're doing, except for a couple of departments. So it creates space and a lay-down yard for the contractor to get the things built, and then we can move them back in. So here we talked about we're going to take the police substation and its parking and move it over to the KAAC. Because the finance, the print shop, and the communications will be brought into the new city hall when it's built. So from a parking standpoint, you're looking here at the summaries here. City Hall, along with its staff and its city vehicles, both take home and what is stored at the site is 254. For the court is 35. So in the concept, you're going to see we're 29 short, and there's a reason for that, and I'll go into that more. On the public parking, you do have a demand because you've got courts, you have and city council meetings. Again, that can be a managed item there. But you're talking here, you're looking at a parking demand of, public parking demand of 302. And we'll kind of show what that looks like in the concept. But here you're talking, we're 29 short over one, we're 29 short over and one, 29 over and one. That way you get the required parking. And all we're wanting to show is just what would it look like if all your parking is met. So what you're seeing here is initial concept. And so you're looking at the city hall here, and you've got, and one of the things that we talked about was creating some synergy in downtown, some public space, some plaza space, and also some transparency there that the staff, that the public could attract and do with that. And also some park area on this. And so this is just a beginning point of what that may look like, and also accommodate the needs of both square footage and parking. Over on the third, so what you're seeing is the parking garage behind the city hall, I guess I can mark on this, can I? Okay, that is meant to be for city staff. That accommodates 90+% of city staff looking 20 years out. So you could say that that could be part of this project. And then over on the third, and as we all know, parking garages are not cheap. We get that. When you're in an urban area, though, it becomes part of the challenge. But on the additional city block, that could be left for public parking. It could be surface parking, and then street parking absorbs the rest. It could be a parking garage. It could be a number of things. It can give the city flexibility to meet the program of what the program's telling us on this. So what you're seeing here is, if you were to accommodate everything here, this is what one concept would look like. So you're looking at a 4-story building on this. How do I get this off? Just do that. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So again, we're talking a 2-story, just parking garage in the back. And then here, we're talking, your courts and your community development, your heavier use departments will be on the first floor. Courts, receiving point, and community development. As we work our way up, courts will be on the second floor, and then additional community development square footage will be on the second floor. And so you're saying that we would have 2 levels of parking, and then over on the adjacent lot, another level of parking. Then as we go up, you're talking, city hall support, human resources, and those departments. And then on the 4th floor, we have administration, council chambers, council offices, things of that nature, because we may have a higher volume to work with there. So again, this is just a concept, a starting point. We said, this seems to work initially. Let's see what this looks like. And so this is just showing some imagery, just working with the staff on what they could see this looking like, and just, again, a 4-story, just showing some massing on what the parking garages will look like in relation to the city hall across the street, and then some plaza park area in front. Avenue, is it D, I believe, is we consider the main road there, and we're facing that for view, and to give the city hall some presence, some sense of entry. And for the public, I mean, they know where and how to get around in City Hall here. So this is just incorporating some of this canopy with the park area or plaza out in front. So this is just our first stab at listening and putting down what these expectations might be. So with that concept, an initial project budget, if it were built today, and we're going to do a benchmark here because obviously you're not going to build it today, but if you were today, bid it out today, August 2024 dollars, this is the number that you're looking at here. You've got City Hall Municipal Court at 91.7. We broke out the garages in 2 separate numbers. That way one can go away. These parking garages can be manipulated in a number of ways. Because like we said, they're not cheap. Part of the cost of this project will be abandoning the street between the parking garage and the city hall. We have utilities that we need to abandon, and we need to reroute and also increase the capacity, because now you're bringing 214 people into a concentrated area to infrastructure that is not there to handle it, adjacent to the block. We've talked about the interior renovation of the Arts and Activity Center for the police substation, and there will be some temporary finish out because we got to get some of these departments off the site. We got to put them somewhere until we move them back in. So that's what you're seeing there is the temporary finish out. So your construction cost today is about 108, which is about where we anticipated to be, around 100 million-ish in today's dollars. FF&E, that's your furniture. We're assuming all new furniture, doesn't have to be. Your city costs, that's your testing services, that's your commissioning, state-required commissioning, potential moving costs, things of that nature, and of course, professional services. So you're looking at 124 in today's dollars. But you're not going to build today, and so what we're looking at is final buyout for the contract would probably be around mid-2027. So this is our best crystal ball here on what the escalation prices are going to do between now and then for the rest of 2024, and in 2025, 26, and then half of 2027. And we're looking at approximately our best information we have from other contractors, about 0.5% a month-ish. There may be slowdowns in other parts of the country, but Texas, we're still not seeing that. And so if you take those and put them in 2027 dollars, now you're looking at 151.2. So we do these studies quite a bit and understand that the sticker shock, we also understand the importance that you got to be real about it and what it is. So that's where we're at today, and I'd appreciate any questions or comments you may have.
Sir, thank you so much for the design and the update. It was great. I do have some concerns. Really, is this, we don't have an option two? This is the
Well, we
only
presented,
option.
and we can develop option two if we maybe get some direction on what you're looking for on that. We presented about 5 or 6 options last time around. And so if there is another option that the city wants to see.
I just asked. I'm not
Yeah.
speaking for the council. I just asked the question.
Yeah.
And my biggest concern is that for what we're trying to do, my biggest number one concern is the revitalization of downtown Killeen. And I see our sub-police station being pushed further away from the center of downtown Killeen. That is one of my concerns, and I can understand we have other buildings that we will have to use. So, I don't know, that's my really big concern with that. But I was just asking, was there an option two? You don't have to make a decision right now, because I want to hear from other council members. Councilmember Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think everyone's taking a moment to absorb what we just, it's a lot.
I get that a lot. I get it.
Yeah, speaking for myself, I appreciate that you bought the whole project in a comprehensive format up front. We get a full understanding of what the cost would be to fulfill every need. Should we move forward, should the voters determine to move forward with this. Without going into detail, because I need some time to really process this, look at the former slides, and the council may determine to have a separate meeting just to discuss the layouts and figure out how to move forward on this if the council determined to do so. But I firmly believe that we need to move forward, however that looks like, based on the voters' decision, to position our city for the future. Our city is growing around us, our neighboring cities are thriving, and we should not maintain the status quo, especially with the need, absolute need for a municipal complex. As a reminder, this building is over 100 years old, and we are spending an exorbitant amount of money maintaining it, and will be in the future. At some point, we will need a city hall. We will always need a city hall if we don't move forward and pursue a new one. There is concern I've heard amongst some citizens about the location of the city hall. There's some who have concerns about it being downtown. Some think it should be more in the center of the city. But I do believe that if we're going to go this route, considering this much to spend, and this is just the cost, of a city hall, that we should have a very, use that word again, robust discussion to have full buy-in. So all in all, thank you for presenting all of this for us to work with, the information, and we'll work to see where it goes from here. Thank you.
To follow up on your comment about the cost, which again, we get that, realize that battle needs to be fought up front. We don't work in a vacuum on these costs. We have our historical data. We also have some very recent pricing on projects in similar scope, and also some feedback from the contractor. So this is not just witchcraft. There is an educated or a process to it.
Sure.
To have the numbers be as real as possible at this point in time.
Sure, and I appreciate that. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I agree that thank you for presenting, and I agree with the things that Councilmember Boyd stated. But we do need a new city hall. We do. And especially if we're trying to revitalize our downtown area and make everything look extremely nice. New city hall. I apologize for that rude noise you heard, sir. Revitalizing downtown Killeen and a new city hall, and with the new Bell County Annex coming in, it's time for change, and we might as well all change together. Thank you for that. Councilmember Cobb.
Good evening. Hi, Council. We're looking at this new building, and I see your plans, and I see your description, and you put it out there the way that you think that our municipal building, yes, we do, we will need a new building. That's for sure. But my question to you is, can we sit down with you while you're drawing and you're deciding this is not a final plan, this is a plan that you've come up with and that you're expecting our deals? I would like to sit down with you and the pencil.
I think that'd be great.
Okay.
Our job is to meet your expectations.
So can we have like a meeting where you sit with the council and we look at the way that you've designed and you put these plans, because some things ain't fitting to me. Now, maybe to everyone else, but I would love to sit down with you as a council, and we sit with him with this pencil, and we look at this, where we're putting these places and these buildings, and maybe even have some of the department heads. They know who needs to be close to who works with who more hand in hand. I think that's going to be important. And something else that I would like to consider is getting the price down. That's going to be kind of important too to us. And I know we're laughing, we're smiling, but that's important. It's important that we have what we want, but at a moderate price. And I don't think that's a moderate price right now.
Well, I get the sticker shock, but again, I think what we're trying to do is be real with the price. Are there ways this can be attacked? You bet there is. Because we've met with department heads from a programming standpoint. And so when you're at this phase of the project, there are assumptions that are made. There are, and we preface that. But we want to get just the overall, do we have it? And then, trust me, during design meetings and stuff, there will be endless design meetings with input from every department. And so that's a process we're used to.
Well, thank you.
No.
Councilmember Segar.
Thank you, Mayor. And my first question, I think this is more probably to our city manager. Given a price tag, and I know if we say 151 and we were going to put a bond out there, the taxpayer would say, well, how much is that going to cost me? Do we know what would that cost a taxpayer, something like that?
Pardon me. We had, in the original projections, I think we showed on a $230 million bond issue. Some of the finance staff might help me. I think for debt payments and operations, because some of the things we were talking about had operational cost, I'm thinking it was around 12 cents on the tax rate. Yes, sir. For $230 million. Yeah. Plus, like, one of the things that was involved was the rec center, so that obviously involved additional staff.
Yeah, and that's 12 cents on the tax rolls, on the property
Yes, sir.
tax? And that's what the tax rolls that we get in, because, our big thing is our exemptions too, so.
Right, it's based on taxable property.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that, and it was mentioned earlier, I think that if this does make it to the ballot, I think somebody mentioned earlier about selling it to the people, and it's not selling it to the people. I don't look at it. It's just an education, because at the same time, somebody came up here and said, thank you, city manager, for explaining it. I now get it. And I think we're gonna need a lot of that educating, understanding, they're gonna ask, why do we need a city hall? And justifying that 12 cents or whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is, but I think that it's not selling it, it's just educating the people so they can make an informed decision when they vote or not. Because if they don't have that, you don't know, you look at the price tag, and that's gonna be, not favorable. It's like, why am I voting for something like that? And then the other part, and I just want to say this because somebody mentioned the downtown revitalization, and I think that the downtown revitalization is small compared to the big picture of something like this. And we talk about industry, and as we compete with other cities, they look at, the development, especially technology. They spend billions and billions to do research, and, they want to make sure that the investment, where they're making their investments and all that, is growing along. It's investing in things like that. So I think that it's got to go beyond, and I'm not saying not to put it downtown, but I'm saying you got to look at the much bigger picture when we do something like that, that it's to attract, these different types of businesses that we're looking for, these businesses that are industrial. And so I'm anxious, I'm just to see where it goes from here, because I know it's going to be ultimately for our citizens to vote on, but I just want to reemphasize that, just part of education, so thank you for that presentation. I mean, this is just the beginning of.
It is.
Of what's coming, so we'll see. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Solomon?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you so much, sir, for the presentation. We had a chance last year to go out to 3 different cities throughout Texas to see what cities our size or lower in terms of population. And I believe there was a city that we went to, North Richland was.
North Richland Hills.
North Rich Hills? Yes, sir. I think that's a population about 70,000?
Maybe less than that, but
Yeah,
that
less
sounds
than
about
that.
close.
And their building was, what, 3 or 4 stories, along
Yes.
with the police department? And so, I say that, we are the 19th largest city in Texas, and I think that we ought to look like it. And I think that we ought to look like we are right next to the largest installation in the world. And the second largest? Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. So I am excited about this. I think that this is a move forward, just seeing those pictures and what you did, those diagrams. I would like to see a second option. And I know that you've taken on what I said that to say about us visiting the cities. You took in consideration as the council went and visited those cities, you designed that based on what we were talking about, and then you also had talked with staff along with that. And so what we got here is kind of what we had talked about.
We did, but it's just a start. It's like the councilman said.
Yes, it's a start. It's a start. We got a long ways to go.
There needs to be much more input on this because
Yes.
it's your building, not mine.
Right. But I was just making a statement that it was said, that not necessarily your design is that is your design, but it was out of what we had talked about.
Yep.
And so I just want to say thank you, and I'm looking forward, as the other council members, we're looking forward to this process.
So am I.
Thank you.
This can be a fun process, by the way. I'm just letting you know.
Yes, and thank you. Thank you again for the projection and for the information and the estimation out. I think it's important, we kind of touched the basis here to make sure that we are clear in understanding that this is not a pet project, that we really have to think about the planning and forward thinking for the city moving forward. Based on some other meetings, and Mr. Cagle, you can confirm the information specifically either now or in the future, but we've talked with different organizations, different groups about our projected growth between now and 2070. it's pretty exponential what we're expected to see statistically as far as our growth. If we were to stay in this building, this 100-year-old building, understanding what we shell out consistently for cost, understanding that we do have some defunct areas, but if we do see the actual expected growth, would this building suffice and be sufficient in its current state for us to support that type of growth?
Well, I will tell you, as you look at the ceiling above you, there's empty office space there because there's an engineering firm that will stake their license on the fact we shouldn't be up there. In fact, we all moved out of there, not only people, but all the furniture because of the weight, because it will not support the weight. The heating and air conditioning system is extremely old and is overdue a replacement. So there's several $1 million that would need to be spent on this building, and that's sort of what started this discussion was, if we're going to have to spend that kind of money and you don't get anything different out of it, that's one level of argument. But the other was there's really not much here. When someone comes here to apply for a job, looking for a permit, coming to municipal court, everyone goes to City Hall for that, only to be told, no, that's not here. Because the only offices in this building is the city manager's office, city attorney, city secretary, and communications. And it's a daily event telling people, no, that service is not here. So there's a lot of different ways to look at it. But the bottom line, it's not just that this is a 100-plus-year-old building, is that it's got some really expensive problems.
Sure, thank you for clearing that up. And then also, when it comes to the ease of access, you kind of tapped on that regarding the centralizing our business services for the citizenry. We've talked when we took our tours, and we've had conversations with other cities and just our travels, seeing how important it was to rebuild our city centers, our business hubs. It becomes extremely important to centralize those for all the reasons that you just stated, for ease of access for our constituents, but then also just for accounting purposes, it makes it quite convenient. If we had talked before about what we could possibly do with the other buildings that would become vacant, as far as putting them on the roll, potentially selling them. All of those things would still be in effect, potentially, correct? We would still have that opportunity?
There's basically one building. It's downtown with the court. There has been some commercial interest in that. I mean, whoever buys that building, I don't think we could get a very large price for it because they're going to have to do significant renovation. But we've had some interest in that. But then there's not many other buildings because the CAC would continue to be used. Mm-hmm. And so it would essentially be the building inspection and IT building. Now, of course, those would be demolished to see that structure that you just saw. This building would remain. And so the question is, what becomes of this building?
Sure. Now, would you say, and then your experience, you've been doing this for quite some time, is there a benefit in cost associated with planning and preparation versus, let's just say we decided to wait until 2029 when our exponential growth is among us to start looking and researching and doing the projections for a project like this?
We're just not seeing things getting, I mean, you may have some leveling off of some prices, construction, but it's not going to go neutral. Mm-hmm. It's just going to continue to go up.
And then regardless, because that's the state of the process, but regardless of what happens then, would you say that it's going to take a number of years anyway? So if we wait until 2029, we'd still be behind the curve at that point based on our projected growth.
That's 2 more years. That's on the approximately 25% escalation, somewhere
Correct.
in there. I mean, or 15 to 25.
Correct.
Again, that's our best crystal ball.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. And this is he gave us a City Hall project update. Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to follow up to what Councilmember Segarra was getting at. We threw a bunch of numbers out there. City manager threw out $230 million potentially for the entire bond. You said that could be about 12 cents on the tax rate. The average home value in Killeen's about $230,000, but I figured it at $250,000 home would equate to about $25 a day is what the taxes would increase. $25 a month, sorry, not a day. $25 a month is what the taxes would go up. But I also wanted, Mr. Cagle, you could touch on, we talked about this before, that increase would not happen all at once, because if the voters voted in support of a $230 million bond, we would not be able to spend $230 million in 1 year. So that increase would not hit the tax rate all at once. It would hit it as we draw it down. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so once we've drawn out the full $230 million of that bond, then the total tax increase could amount to about $25 a month. That's also not taking into account any homestead property tax exemptions. That drops it to about $19 a month once you accredit the loss for the tax exemption. And lastly, you know, we talk about the people's will a lot here with this body, and I think everyone should be excited to take a bond election to the voters, because ultimately it's going to be the voters who voted up or voted down. So whether you're for it or against it, I think everyone should be excited to see what the voters are going to say. I mean, we're going to take it to the people, and ultimately they're going to say yes or they're going to say no. So, you know, I don't see, again, if you're for it or if you're not for it, you're against it. I think we should all be excited just to see what the people are going to say, because that's what we're here for, and we hear that day in and day out. At every meeting that we have here, we hear, well, that's not the people's will. Well, let's take it to the people and find out, is what I say. So, thank you.
Councilwoman Cobb, this is your second time.
My concern is that we're advantageous with everything that we do. That not only are we looking at the price of square footage, or we're looking at 2029, even if it's 3030, I could give a care about the day. But what I do care about, that when we go to the people for the bond, and we go to them for this money, that we have accounted for everything being in the right way. I don't want it to be 1 year later and you say, well, we underestimated the parking. Well, we underestimated the chambers. I want it to be, I would like, no one's perfect, but I would like to make sure that we have looked at it, and we have looked at it carefully, and that we're making good decisions and not a rush decision or a good-looking decision. You know, things can look good but are not good. So we want to make sure that we make good out of the money. I'm for it. I'm for it. I went to Florida, and you should have seen the city halls and the buildings that I saw. They work, but they worked for everyone. So I came back with a new ideal and new attitude. And sometimes the things that we commonly see are not what is needed. Thank you, sir.
Well, I welcome your idea about maybe meeting and maybe laying it all out more detail. I think that would go a long way.
Yes, sir. And that's, once Councilmember Boyd complete his statement, I'm going to ask the council to do a motion or direction, to make a motion or direction that the council put all the 5 projects that we have. We schedule a meeting, and I guess we can do that. We can, or y'all can agree to schedule a meeting on a date, because we have to have this completed with the project for the bond election in May. So if we're going to start now. So after council member
That's good. That's where we go.
Boyd complete his statement, then you can make that motion or direction. Council member Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Oh, second time. Sorry about that.
That's fine. Thank you, Madam Mayor. If you could briefly go to the slide that lists the departments that are proposed to be inside of the City Hall. And while you're doing that, I've noted that each council member had a supportive statement towards this. I think that comes from understanding the need is there and the opportunity to move forward. It's more towards the very beginning of the slide. I just want to point out something here. We had a citizen mention or caution that we don't end up, we don't poorly plan, right? Don't end up with enough space. And then Councilwoman Cobb just mentioned the importance of not being in that situation as well. And you look at this slide, these are the departments, make sure I'm correct, that would go inside the new city hall. Is that correct?
Correct.
So this is absolute consolidation. This is a need. And so what I'm getting at is that, and cautioning us against, is looking far into potentially scaling this down when we understand that this is the need. We could potentially scale this down where it's more palatable, but the need will still be there. Again, I appreciate that we have the full picture to work with, and the estimates that the city manager gave us is great preliminary information to work with. I did the calculations from Councilman Alvarez. That's roughly 300 a year for taxable property. But the return is huge. The return is huge. And I just want to point out that you guys have shown the absolute need. There's nothing missing here. You went through parking, police, the facilities, everything's accounted for here for us to work with that information. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to make one statement before Councilmember Cobb make a motion of direction. One of the things, I am a big advocate for downtown Killeen. I think everybody knows that by now. Yeah. So for us to have a new city hall downtown Killeen, you can do economic development with a city hall or without it, because it's already been proven through KEDC. That's a given. But to have a city hall, once we bring in Bell County Annex and continue to develop that business, that area, you're only going to bring in economic development from a small business perspective. Because this council had already moved forward with a second industrial park. So it's vital that downtown Killeen is the strength of our community, period, in the downtown list area right here. Anything else that come is just gravy. In the city hall, at this time, it's needed. But we have to continue to develop our downtown and small businesses with the Bell County Annex, which is coming, and also a new city hall. So, for the record. Councilwoman Cobb, can I get that motion of direction?
Yes, ma'am. Sir, ma'am, council, I would like to make a motion of direction that we take a minute. It's going to be in my way. That we take a minute, that we're going to make a motion of direction, that we take a look at what we have and put it in, maybe just take a week or two. I guess what, do I need a date?
Yes, sir. So, yes, ma'am. So your motion of direction is that the council will schedule a meeting to go over all 5 projects, and out of those 5 projects, they will decide one that will be on the ballot for the May election.
Yes, ma'am, but can I have a date of, I need a
Yes,
date.
ma'am.
I would like to have that done quickly.
Everybody look at their calendar. Council, look at your calendar on the days that we can meet. But first, you got to make that motion of direction with, did you write that down?
No, ma'am, I did. I would like to,
first-
again, make a motion of direction that we do this by October the 1st, that we sit down as a council to evaluate and to ensure that we're advantageous about our concept.
Yes, ma'am. So Councilwoman Cobb, when
Yes,
we
ma'am.
select the date, do you want it to be at lunch at 12 o'clock?
Whatever's convenient with the council.
But
But are
this your
y'all better
motion to
with
do-
lunch? Are y'all better with lunch, or?
Can we get a date,
Lunch is
please?
fine.
Can we get a
October
date?
1st at noon.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No,
No?
ma'am. No, ma'am.
That's a
Do
Wednesday.
y'all have a date for August or September? Because we have to get this to the committee. We
Okay.
can't postpone. Yes, Councilmember Solomon.
I would like to add to that, if we could do it on a off Tuesday at
Okay.
12 o'clock.
Okay, so we have we have August the 12th. Is everybody available on August the 12th to meet at 12 o'clock to go over all the designs that was presented to us to the 13th? That's 13th. At 12 o'clock, or do you want to meet at 1 o'clock?
August the 12th.
The
is
12th?
Tuesday.
It's the city count, it's the 13th, it's the 13th. It's a council meeting on the 13th of Tuesday. Do y'all want to meet at 1 o'clock, or you want to meet at 12 o'clock? Because our meeting would be at 3 o'clock.
Maybe 2.
I would recommend at 12 o'clock.
We're not meeting on the 13th, but we're meeting on the 6th. So y'all want to do it on the 6th? August the 6th? That's the
Today's the
1st
6th,
and
Madam
3rd.
Mayor.
I'm sorry, what I'm talking
Today's
about?
the 6th.
I'm sorry, the 20th.
20th.
The 20th.
The 20th.
I'm fine for the 20th. I would recommend the 20th at 12 p.m.
Okay?
Okay.
So Councilwoman Cobb, would you put that into a motion of direction?
Yes, ma'am. My motion of direction is that our council sit down and we look at the design on August the 20th at 12 noon at our city chambers.
All in, second to that? Motion of direction?
Second.
Councilwoman Cobb made a motion of direction that on August the 20th at 12 o'clock p.m. that the council will meet to go over all 5 designs and select one to be presented for the May election. And Councilmember Boyd second that motion, direction. All in favor? Yes. All opposed? No. Motion of direction passes 6-0. Madam Secretary, thank you, sir. Yes, sir, thank you. Madam Secretary.
DS 24046, discuss and consider a May 2025 bond election.
Mayor and Council, this is not about calling an election. This is just, because that would be done at a much later date. This is just about announcing your intention. That's what you want to do, and your intention is to call a bond election in May of 2025.
All right, motion. The motion of direction would be to call a bond election in May. Right now, the council have it as November, and this motion of direction would be to move it to May. Councilmember Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I make a motion to call for a bond election in May of 2025.
Councilmember Solomon.
I second that.
All in favor of the motion of direction, yes. All opposed, no. Motion of direction passed 6-0. Madam Secretary.
DS 24047, Killeen Economic Development Corporation update.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Connell. How are you, sir? Sir?
As you know, we do every quarter, we like to bring an update of what we've done, what progress has been made, and answer any questions that you might have about what's happening. It is, as you know, our purpose is to attract industry to the area that bring some good tax base and jobs to the market, and that's something and to invest in those functions and activities that really can get us there. So want to just real hit on some projects that we worked on this past couple of months. The East Center came to us in their relocation project. As you know, took a piece of about a third of the former HEB building in the downtown area. Came to KEDC with a request for assistance as they were going through their renovations. We looked at this from a number of opportunities, both on the project investment. It's a strategic location. It's certainly a real estate piece that the community has been focused in on for some time, in a need for revitalization. It would bring some activity into the downtown area in both in sales and some scheduled events on a regular basis. What's always important in these projects is that there's a renovation opportunity that puts those permanent improvements to the facilities. So regardless of what happens, that we do have a real estate improvement and in this case, a real reuse of the facilities. And which is, as we all know, is required to that facility. It's not going to be a continued grocery opportunity, but it is a facility that has great parking, has a lot of great bones, if you would, in terms of opportunity. So this is exciting that someone saw this as an opportunity for use and actually bring a business from the region into this community. We looked at it from a grant scenario and provided a $25,000 grant agreement, performance agreement with the company. focus in on the renovation costs associated with it. They were required to complete the renovations and have 2 events prior to accessing those funds. She was already moving quick. It was prom time and some other things in May, and so May and June. So she's already completed that, and that grant has already been provided. So we've got a little best of luck to them as they move forward. I also want to let you know another project that the Board of Directors approved. Blue Acre Development is a commercial and industrial facilities developer out of Williamson County. We've been working with them for a while as they build out some properties in the cities in Williamson County. They said we need to be looking out to the next growth area, and came to us in Killeen and said, "What do you have that allow us to build on?" There's a site at the corner of Ricky Carlisle and Twin Creek that we have sold or have under contract with them at this time. It's about 8.7 acres for them to develop a 50,000 square foot industrial building. As we've talked about, the biggest challenge that we face right now and is the availability of real estate in the industrial market. That could be a site or a building. We have a few sites here, and we'll talk a little bit about the challenges we have in terms of the amount of acreage that's available, but in the Killeen Business Park. But the big key is we're like a clothing business. We need all the sizes. We need business. We need sites and we need buildings. And buildings on the ground really provide a speed to market for smaller businesses. Smaller could be, still 50,000 is a good size facility, but they're not the 50-acre scenarios. But we do not have a cadre of properties that we can really put on front of companies. So we're real excited about them moving forward on this. We signed the contract in July. We do expect this to close sometime in the first quarter of 2025 and then move forward. So they're part of the project that the process that allow us to move a little bit faster than this is as they go through their design and analysis on the site and identify how they're going to move forward. They could very well move faster than that. So we're very excited about what this can bring to us. Another project that we've been working on, we've brought this to council before, and we have been working with an owner of some property at the southeast corner of Texas Highway 195 in Stagecoach. We have acquired that property, closed on it in May, late May. We are excited about this being the beginnings of a new business park for us in the south part of the city. As you can see on this map, it's the Texas A&M University Central Texas on the west side of that map. So it's in very close proximity to them, and we see that opportunity to being close. You can also see on the east side there, I didn't know if you touched it, that is the KISD Career Center. Having that educational opportunities really close to businesses is really a significant opportunity. What we envision here is certainly some retail, maybe at the hard corner on the north end, and then everything on the bulk of the kind of rectangle at the bottom there is currently in what is called the University Overlay District, that intended to complement the businesses that would complement and really utilize that university opportunity. We like that. There's some additional things we might want to add to that in terms of some light manufacturing, very light, what I call very light manufacturing. We're not talking about big boxes and things like that, but there's some clarity that we'd like to make sure that we get in place. So we may be we intend to bring some rezoning to this in the next couple of months, and then begin some of that the construction to bring roads in, utilities into the park, and put it really fully on the market. So we are very excited about what this does for us. It's a very long-term opportunity for us in the community. It's a southern gateway into the city, so we want it to be nice, landscaped, have a combination of various types of offices, technical opportunities, really put us in a position to compete for the kind of businesses we'd like into the future. So very excited about this. We've worked on this for a good couple of years to get to the point, and now we're on to the next step that's going to take us to work on this to get it fully operable. So we're excited. We not only work with our own real estate, but we work with partners in the community. Obviously, we're here to promote and to try to attract industry throughout the community. So, and working with the real estate, commercial real estate businesses in the community is really critical. This is a parcel at the corner of Swanner Loop and North Twin Creek Drive that had, interestingly enough, many years ago, KEDC actually built it in the 90s. It sold and was manufacturing and eventually became a call center. We worked with the just past owners about getting it on the market. We did a little bit of homework over the course of the last year on estimating the renovations to get it to a real usable opportunity. It sold in the first quarter of this year to the Emerson Group out of Austin. They immediately went in and started the renovation process. You'll see this north. The top photo is actually a photo. That is, I probably showed you that before, but that was where the design was. That is what it looks like right now. They painted the exterior, put in a couple of new doors, roll-up doors for industry, paved it. The parking lot, restriped it. It's really set for client activity, and we've already had a handful of businesses that have come to visit it. There just aren't a lot of these types of buildings available in Bell County, so we're real excited about what this brings to us. So stay tuned as that gets going. Just a few updates that we always like to bring to you so you understand where the progress is. So just because we worked on something a year or so ago or a couple months back, give you the updates. USAMM had their groundbreaking on May 2nd. They are well underway in construction. This is a picture on the right from just last week. They are underway on the construction of the 2 sets of buildings that they'll have on site, and we do anticipate this to be ready by this time next year. It's about a $12 million investment. Again, as we're talking budget, investment is what drives your ability the tax base to pay for the bills. So it's a real important thing. This company will move from another facility in the park, and we see that as going back on the market when they move. So very, very excited about their growth. This is 3 times what they have right now. And so we see their opportunity to add new jobs is in the future. Just an update on Southern Roots Brewery. They are under construction on their facility. They've done the bulk of the clear out of the interiors of the facility. They're getting their mechanical engineering and plumbing designs completed right now. Sometimes it's important to know that how the process may work. Sometimes when we have a project come to us and they're ready for incentives, they've done all of that homework. And a lot of times, companies will come and go through the agreements process before they ever spend a dime on design and acquiring new equipment or anything. So this is one of those where once they got the agreements in place, then they started the process of the building, looking at it. So we see that they tell us that by fall they expect to be underway in active reconstruction of the interior, and that they have already ordered the production equipment. So that's on the lead time is about 12 months for that. So we're excited about that moving ahead. MGC is still is $130 million investment. As you remember, one of the largest investments in the history of the city. Still under construction. They right now we have about a year before that's going to be completed. We're seeing steel going up on the front of the building, so a new structure on the campus. If you notice, they're building everything to the side of their current existing structures, but really well underway. No delays. Workspace USA, if you remember, it's a partnership with Bell County Glass. They bought the 5 acres just to the north of their current facility. It's a partnership with a group who are building buildings on the site, kind of a little business park within a business park concept, really to support the small businesses that need 2,000 to 5,000, maybe 10,000 square feet at the most, and possibly even own their own space, which is pretty rare for small users. They anticipate, under design, they expect to get permits in the next couple of weeks, so we should see construction by early fall. Very excited about that. again, taking a little bit more acreage that's not into development that is not available to us in the future. Dongjin Semichem is really finishing up a lot of their interior construction project. They're doing equipment testing right now and early product testing, so they are in production but in a low level, and we're excited about how they might ramp up as their customer Samsung in to the south is getting completed to their project. So stay tuned and they've hired pretty much all of their employees and are already looking at potentially adding beyond that at this time. For us, just in the last couple of months, as you remember, we've hired a new staff person to really engage, Kelly Halstead. She is just a spitfire. We are so glad to have her on board, and her knowledge, working on updating our maps, making sure our materials are all active. We have just in the last couple of months submitted proposals on 18 companies, which is really just an active submission process. Means we actually have something and they're looking for, and we can submit. So if somebody's looking for acreage that we can't meet, we don't submit on it. It's great to see some things that we're having an opportunity for. We've had 3 site visits. Actually, since this, we had 2 just in the last couple of days, touring active real estate, and we have 12 active clients, meaning from that point of view, what we're talking about is someone who's been here, who's visited, who's active, is involved in looking at real estate and a proposal for us. So we are moving at a pace. You're going to see these numbers grow as we continue to be aggressive over the course of the next several months, and we know we have capacity to do more as we go along. I would say one of the things in that same time frame, we attended she attended the Team Texas with Team Texas, the governor's office of the Select USA, and actually that was, I should say, May 25th and 28th. But that is an opportunity for cities, states, regions in the United States to all come together in one location to provide a forum for companies who are in all different countries in the world looking to do business in the United States. It's a really easy way for us to do the international forum. There was 5,000 attendees, 96 different countries, and allows us to be able to tailor the kind of the industries we're looking at, to tailor the kind of the countries that we want to focus in on. And of course, some of the recent relationships with Dongjin taking us into the Korean opportunity, the growth with MGC and Japan. This is what's leading us to try to focus in on that. Interestingly enough, Kelly Halstead in our office has had experience working with at the state level and going to Korea, so she's leading that opportunity for us. But she's already had 12 one-on-one meetings just for us, talking to companies throughout the world. And Texas got about 250 leads out of that trade show, and so we're anxious to get working on all those. This is, I think, a real opportunity for us going forward and just moving that ball forward and being as active as we can marketing-wise. Hit on a lot of things. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Councilmember Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'll be sure to be brief here. I previously served on KEDC and got to see and contributed to a lot of the decisions that were made with the limited resources that do exist. And I just want to publicly, endorse KEDC and the achievements and progress I've noted over the past 2 years. When I came on council, I was a little critical based on what I heard from our citizens on the lack of progress, if you will, with KEDC, but I have seen strides. And whenever you're giving reports, we're seeing something new added just about every time, so I appreciate that. I also wanted to mention the local newspaper actually did a really good article 10 days ago, on the KEDC and how it works and how it's structured. And if anybody wants to dig into that, it's actually a really good article. I appreciate it. The third thing I wanted to mention was that land acquisition is very important for our city, for our community. We talk about having these major employers come in, but they're going to need a site that's conducive to what they need to do on that site. And that's secured by having land available for them. So in the future, the KEDC may need additional funding to continue to pursue land tracts like the Wolf property and some other ones that are under discussion. So outstanding work. I see the progress, and it has my support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And yeah, I agree with Mr. Boyd. You guys always do a good work. But the question I had, and I know you guys do a great job, and we have so many different resources here in the city. You know, we got a great workforce and all that. But when you go out there and try to bring companies in, other than, you know, a great location and great, what are some of the partnerships in the community that help you, that help try to attract people to come here?
Oh, boy. There's a lot. We talk in our business that this is a team effort, economic development. Just it depends on the resource and what the company's looking for. Certainly, Workforce Center and all of that they do to help companies, you know, find the employees. Private sector employment centers. The TAP program at Fort Cavazos, our partners, city staff, critical to a lot of different parts of the city staff that we work with, from engineering to finance, all sorts of things that they do. You're our partners. We do some work with IBCC. Obviously, we didn't do the E-Center came to us from IBCC, you know, so we're partners with them on issues, downtown staff, you name it. There's lots of folks who come together, from real estate to engineering, you name it. We don't do it. We have to use all those. So it's 2 or 3 people in our staff. So obviously, depending on the issue, we have to go and get partners to do that.
Yeah, no, that's good. And what I was thinking of, like, you know, we have the airport and we're trying to grow that. And so how many people say, you know, we got a great location airport, we got a university, we got a college for dependents. So there's a lot of resources. I know that I visited Frisco or the Dallas area one time, and I think the big attraction on a lot of business was the airport, you know. And so I said, you know, hopefully, and I know you guys do, hopefully we sell the airport too. And
yeah, when we go through, just so you know, when we talk about proposals, what that really entails is they'll give us a number of questions, and it could be anywhere from 10 to 100 questions, depending on what it is they're looking at. Transportation and all of its focuses, whether they're highways, whether you're air transportation, how close are you to, and some of them, they kind of create their own criteria at the front end. I need to be within a certain distance, and airports are one of those issues because they have staff that travels, for example, or they're one of a network of facilities. So being able to get people to and from our community is critical, and all of that that's what we're chasing. So we have a great relationship with Mike and his team, and all of the information, and sometimes very technical, and we have to go to them and ask them, I need you to get me these details, and that helps us to submit that information.
yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a big community effort, and I know that
really is.
Everybody has to play a part of that. It's not just KDC, even though you lead, but it's a huge thing. I know that our mayor and city council, when they get to talk out there, we go to conferences and we get leads. It's like, you know, we're passing them down to you and see if you can follow up with this. So
that's right.
And it's just like anything else. I think that a lot of people really don't, selling, you know, trying to attract somebody, you're competing with so many out there. And, you know, they are looking for incentives. And I know when I visited Plano and they brought that headquarters for Toyota, I asked the mayor, you know, how much did it cost you to bring Toyota here? And he said, Mayor, it cost us $1 billion. Can you imagine telling the citizens of Killeen it's going to cost them $1 billion in tax incentives to try to bring? And so that's the part of the business that we just, you know, need to educate people on. So thank you.
Indeed.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Madam Secretary.
Thanks.
DS 24048. Discuss and consider changes to proposed fiscal year 2025 operating and CIP budget.
Yes, ma'am. Mayor and council, So there were some changes, one we talked about earlier tonight, to the original proposed budget. And anytime we have an increase, we need to have another public hearing. So I will show you the proposed changes, which will, and then kick in the need for the budget public hearing here on August 20th. The first one we talked about, the additional property tax revenue. And the idea right now is with that additional property tax revenue that we transfer it out to the government CIP for the Stagecoach Road. Still doesn't get us completely funded, but it helps start the project. If you'll remember, we had savings. Tonight you heard about Watercrest. Before that, there was Bunny Trail. And then with the remainder of the money that we have left from the street maintenance fund, we can probably do the first quarter, first third of Stagecoach. That had always been our plan, to do it in stages, and hopefully we can do it in perhaps thirds, but this will help with that. Then the debt service, so we're no longer using fund balance, or the $115,000 in fund balance, that would stay in fund balance, and the debt service property tax rate would stay the same. Then in the aviation fund, if you remember, we just signed an intergovernmental service agreement with the Department of Defense to provide more services at Robert Gray Airfield. And the old IGSA was in the budget, and it was replaced by the new IGSA. So we need to take the old IGSA out of the budget, so remove that revenue. The new IGSA includes everything we were doing under the old one, plus new services. And then we'll reduce the transfer to the aviation CIP fund. And there, once again, you see that on the other side, a reduction in revenue to the aviation CIP fund. And then in the governmental CIP fund, you see the money coming in from the general fund. And then in the risk management fund, we received, similar to receiving the final tax roll after we proposed the budget, we received the final bill for all of our insurance. That's general liability, property, auto damage, police liability, all of our insurance premiums outside of workers' comp and all of our employee insurance, health insurance and everything. We had a significant increase from all of those that was seen across the board in cities across the state. And so we're recommending that we pay for that out of the risk management fund balance. And then we can change next year in the 26 budget, change those chargebacks to the budget, to the different departments to take care of that. So all of those changes I just showed you amount to 0.12% of the proposed budget. It's just we got some, all of it really, 3 or 4 things. The tax rate from getting the certified tax roll, our insurance premiums, getting the final bill, and then the IGSA, realizing that we counted the revenue twice because the old IGSA was included in the new IGSA. So we're cleaning that up. And really what we need tonight, I'm happy to answer any questions, but after we get all of that done, is a motion, a direction to make those changes, and then we'll have the public hearing August 20th. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Cagle. Can I get a motion of direction for council member to make those changes to the budget? Council member Alvarez.
So moved, Mayor.
Councilmember Boyd.
Second.
All in favor, yes. All opposed, no. The motion of direction to make the changes proposed on DS-24-048. Motion of direction carries 6-0. And council, before, Mr. Cagle, you're up next. Yes, sir. Before we move forward with that, I would ask the council to suspend the role of the governor's standards so I can go back to item number 11 that we have voted on, one of the ordinance in reference to the judge, so we can answer the question. That 11 was on the back of my sheet of paper when I said that we had we was going to answer it, but I just saw it when I flipped over to take notes. Can I get approval to suspend the rules of governor's standards and expectations to go back to discuss, to answer question 11? And that would be the OR-24-009. Councilmember Boyd.
I make a motion to suspend the rules for the governing standards, specifically for a discussion on OR-24-009 to answer a specific question.
Councilmember Solomon.
A second.
All in favor of the motion of direction to allow me to go back to suspend the rules of the governor's standards and expectation to go back to answer the question for OR-009? All in favor, yes. All opposed, no. And I apologize because I said it. Thank you, 6-0. So, Mr. Cagle, the question that was presented by Mr. Gukais, and he asked for an answer, and that question was, one thing I do know that the leadership would not be following up on the finance, the courts. Would you please answer that question?
Yes, ma'am. And it had nothing to do with any individuals. It's just organizational structure. That the municipal court judge is a full-time job and the municipal court administrator is a full-time job. And asking the judge to do both was a little much. And also it creates some organizational problems when the court, the budget has to be approved by the city manager, but the municipal court judge didn't report to the city manager, where in the past the municipal court administrator through the finance department did. And if there's any issues with HR or with finance, purchasing, all those departments report to the city manager and not to the judge, and there's no clear way to deal with conflicts that arise, or if there were personnel issues and a complaint was made, where does it go? It doesn't come to the city manager because the city manager doesn't manage the court under that system. So it just created a lot of problems, I think, that weren't anticipated. Had nothing to do with any of the current personnel. It's just a structural issue.
Thank you, Mr. Kagan. I wanted to be on record that the council made that decision. Judge Krishner still falls up under the city council, and the court does not fall up under finance. All right, thank you, council, for allowing me that opportunity. Okay, now we will go to Madam Secretary.
DS 24049, discuss and consider funding for the Innovation Black Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. Hold on, Mr. Kagan. Councilman Solomon, do you have a question, or was that from last time?
No, ma'am. This is on this item.
On DS-24-049?
Yes, ma'am. DS-24049. Because of the need for further information and discussion on this item, I make a motion of direction that we would table this until we can get more information on this and discuss this more. And I want to make a motion of direction to table this until within 6 months, and we'll be into our 2026 budget process.
I'm sorry, I apologize. So you want to table DS-24049?
Yes, I want to make a motion of direction.
To table,
Yes.
okay. Councilmember Alvarez.
Mayor, I was just going to second that.
All in favor of tabling it? Yes,
Questions?
all opposed?
Questions? I had a question. I need some clarification here. Because from my understanding, and the motion is to allow us time to learn, but I thought that's what our city manager was going to do today. And I would like to, see what he's going to propose before I vote on that.
Right. So you can vote yes or you can vote no. The motion of direction, he asked to table it, you want to hear his information. So council, you can vote yes to table, or you can vote no to hear what Mr. Cagle has to say. All in favor, yes. All opposed, no. Okay, did it pass or not? I'm sorry. 4 people voted to table DS-24-049, and 2 people wanted to hear it. So the motion carries to table DS-24-049 until, what did you say, when?
Until the February.
6 months. Did you get that, Madam Secretary?
Yes, ma'am, I have for 6 months.
Okay, all right. Madam Secretary, whenever you're ready.
DS 24050. Discuss and consider dissolving the Crime Solutions Committee.
Okay, council, this is an item that I'm bringing before you. I attended my first as chair of the Crime Solution Committee, and we did not have a quorum. And also, I discussed items with the vice president, the chair, Ms. Anka, and there was one other gentleman that was at the meeting. And I called Chief Lopez on the phone. Once I got there, I wanted to understand what was the Crime Solution Committee mission. But we didn't have enough people to really have that discussion. My only concern was we had staff in there that would have been doing a presentation, and that was the neighborhood watch, and they had to take off their time. We had a city attorney in there. We had the city executive director, and all these city staff members that's here late. And once I got the report and realized that it's not the 2 individuals that were at the meeting, and I cannot think of his name, but it's individuals that you appointed, and they did not attend the meetings that as scheduled. So I called Chief Lopez on the phone after he had presented in his town hall meeting at Destiny Church, and some of the council members did attend that. We had told Chief Kimball when we passed the marijuana ordinance that he had to have some kind of board together to go back and review how everything was doing. So that mantle fell upon the Chief Lopez. But when Chief Lopez had come into the city of Killeen, when we hired him, he had already told the council and everybody that will listen that he was going to bring a lot of his programs from Houston that he knew worked. Well, he came to the council, and some of those programs we are putting in place right now, or he has put into place. So Chief Lopez had the opportunity to talk to the 2, it was 3 board members there, the board members, and talk to the vice chair, and they asked questions, and he said it is similar to what you are doing now. I talked to the board, taking under consideration, we did not have a quorum. We're just having a discussion. And that the process that he will have for the new advisory board to assist him and his command team as our city move forward, crime or whatever else it might be, each resident have the opportunity to put in an application. So it's open, and they will decide. So I'm asking the council to do a motion of direction to dissolve the Crime Solution Committee. Councilmember Alvarez.
Madam Mayor, upon request, I move to dissolve the Crime Solutions Committee.
Councilmember Segarra. You have
I
to
second it. Go
Okay.
ahead.
All in favor, yes. All opposed, no. Motion carried 6-0. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Councilmember Segarra. Councilmember Solomon. All in favor, yes. All opposed, no. Just raise your hand, please. We can do that. Meeting adjourned.